And welcome back. Our final guest is an award-winning communicator, influential change maker, a Bronx native, who's worked for two presidential administrations and 3 national campaigns. Watch out. He joins us to speak about how he's navigating our current administration and so much more. So please welcome to the show. Troy Blackwell Jr. is in the house. Troy,
it's a pleasure to be with you, Dr. Lee.
How'd you get a chance to work with all these administrations?
Look, man, it started with an internship program.
Yeah?
Yeah, when I was in college at the City University of New York, City College, I applied for a White House internship program. And so I was able to serve under the Obama administration. I was an intern for Valerie Jarrett, who was President Obama's senior advisor. And so I just pretty much moved up the ranks. That's where I met then Attorney General Kamala Harris, who was running for the Senate, and that's where I met Vice President Biden. And so I stayed in contact with them. And then in 2020, they asked me to work on their campaign and got a presidential appointment and been serving the last 4 years.
Oh, that's great. That's great. Now, how does that feel? A lot of people look at it and they see the people on TV, these elected officials, and they're doing this, making moves. It's all politics.
Yeah.
And you got it, this person's going to do this, and the other person has to do this, and they have to make ends meet and bring it to the people, because people, got them in office. And how does it feel to be around them? You see them on TV, but you're up close and personal.
Look, I mean, I feel like it's an honor. It's an honor, right? Whenever you get asked to serve, it's an honor.
Yeah.
And I think, my background, I grew up here in the Bronx, in the Norwood section of the Bronx, a kid of public schools, K through 12. So whenever you get a chance to be in D.C. and you get to walk the halls of Congress or the White House or any of the federal agencies, it just feels like such an amazing opportunity, a blessing.
Troy, you think you're going to run for something in the past?
I have
Not
no idea.
the New York City Marathon, but I'm talking
I have no idea at this moment.
you've been thinking about it? People have been asking you about it.
Well, look, the Bronx is home for me. I love the Bronx. I care deeply about my community. I just want to make sure that my community has the resources that they need, particularly in this time with the cuts and rollbacks that we're seeing from the current administration.
Yeah. Are you working with the elected officials in the Bronx right about now?
Yeah, so I've been in conversation with some of the elected officials. Many of them are running for office. There are a couple of people that I'm supporting, but also just working with organizations as well to make sure that people are getting what they need in this time.
They taught you well. You ask the questions, bam, I have something for that. We've got something for that. Now, congratulations on your recent award and published works. Talk about that.
Yeah, so it's been a journey. Most recently, I was the Deputy Chief Communications Officer at the U.S. Department of Commerce. So primarily worked around patents and trademarks, helping small business and entrepreneurs legally protect their work. Did some work to help get $600 million to the state of New York.
And that's you right there.
Yeah, that's me with the Chancellor of CUNY. We created a CUNY Alumni Association, the first ever in the history of CUNY, and so the Chancellor invited me to be a part of that and gave all of us certificates recognizing each of us for our respective works.
And bring that first picture back, guys.
Yeah, so this here, I was with the director of the Selective Service System, which is an agency that focuses in case of national emergency. And so the director gave me a bronze award. We created a national strategy around public service. So many people, particularly young people, services down, whether it's military or it's AmeriCorps or Peace Corps. And so we created that national plan around national service.
Yeah, I remember getting a card from Selective Service years ago.
Yes, we don't have the draft.
The draft card?
It's been going for 50 years. Yeah.
Well, that was a long time ago.
Yes, and hopefully no drafts coming soon.
Yeah. Wow. And you're working in national campaigns still? You're working on them?
Well, not at the moment. Right now, there haven't been any kicked off in any of the national campaigns, but keeping my eye out in case there's any way I could be helpful.
How did it feel to be a part of Kamala Harris's campaign in 2024?
Well, it was such an honor. So I met Vice President Kamala Harris through her sister Maya Harris in 2016. Stayed in touch with her. I worked on her primary in 2019. Got to know her pretty well. She was very, very...
look at you there.
Yes, Madam VP.
Everybody in the studio, give them a big round of applause. Clap real fast. Yeah. Sound like 1,000 people.
Well, she was very intentional about if she was going to pursue higher heights, that she wanted to make sure that she had a diverse team around her, that she was giving opportunities to Black and brown people.
Yeah.
So I stood with her, and then when she was chosen as the running mate, supported President Biden's campaign and got to serve them for 4 years. Yeah.
Wow.
And she's an amazing, fierce leader. She knows her stuff. She is a legal guru, but she makes you want to do better, and you see how passionate she is about helping people.
And you're part of history because she's the first Black vice president of the United States. Yeah.
Correct. Yeah. And hopefully the first Black woman to be president, if she ever decides.
You think she's going to do it again? She's going to decide to do it again?
I have no idea, but I would hope so.
She's waiting in the wings right now. She's kind of quiet right about now, right?
Well, she's
that was
already,
a lot of work running around.
Yeah.
Because I think she had 107 days to try to.
Correct. It was 107 days to galvanize the country. Yeah.
Wow. And you were with her every step of the way, right?
Yes.
Did you take a deep breath after it was all over?
I did. I did. I took a sigh and just said, worry, but the vice president was really good about making sure that everyone knew that we were still in the fight. Whether you are an elected or appointed office, that does not limit your ability to help people and to serve. And so she instilled that in all of us.
To grasp hold of in 107 days of half the country.
Yeah.
That's a lot right there.
Yeah. Closest election in history too.
Yeah. Wow.
Only a 1% difference.
He has all the information. Say it again, 1% what?
Only a 1% difference in terms of the vote. So one of the closest elections in American history.
So where did the landslide thing come from?
I think that came from the swing states, our electoral college. The electoral college is a system that was built out of slavery to limit the rights of enslaved people from getting proper representation. So it's a system that's outdated, but it tilts the scales one way or the other.
What do you think about the rollbacks of with DEI with the new administration?
I'm deeply concerned about it. Mostly 3 key areas. First, federal government has been the pathway to the middle class for Black and Latino families. The federal government is the largest employer in the United States. So cutting a lot of these DEI programs and jobs, I believe right now we're about 250,000 people who've been laid off from jobs. So that's really scary. Second, DEI runs the gambit, and I think about someone like myself, being a member of the LGBTQ community. It wasn't until 1994 when President Bill Clinton signed an executive order that allowed us to even get security clearances to serve. So prior to 1994, you couldn't be out and open and serve in the federal government. You were barred from doing that. And so that was only through executive action. So seeing what's happening right now in Washington, it concerns me.
Yeah. Do you think the courts will help? You see the courts are stepping in.
Well, yeah, I hope that the courts will help. Right now, we know that there's a conservative bent on the Supreme Court. So I think right now it's really going to be at the state level, the Supreme Courts, which are elected positions at the state level. And so I'm really hoping that people galvanize around, those elected judicial officials.
Yeah. Since you've been in this for a while, what advice would you give to young people wanting to navigate their way through politics or get more involved in it?
Well, the first thing I would say is that there's never a right time. You just kind of have to jump in. The way that I see it, our grandparents and parents carried the torch for us, so now it's time for us to carry that torch. And last time I checked, I think about 54% of the electorate will be Gen Z and Millennial combined in the next 2 years. So the largest electorate in the country will be those under 45. So it's really on us to be able to carry that torch and serve. So I hope that more young people get involved and serve in government.
Yeah. How far do you think this is going to go? I mean, they're saying the new administration, the young man in charge is a king?
Yeah, that's how he labels himself. He's not a king. Yeah. I don't know how far it will go. I think right now we're waiting to see. It's only been 7 weeks, but in these 7 weeks, we've seen numerous agencies disbanded. We've seen 250,000 people laid off. And about 80% of the federal government doesn't even work in Washington, right? So right here in the state of New York, I think we have about 55,000 federal employees. And so I know people who work in federal government who've also been laid off right here in the Bronx. So it's scary to see what it's going to mean, but I think in terms of economically speaking, I think it's scary to see 250,000 people laid off of their jobs.
What do you think the future is going to look like with more people getting involved in becoming elected officials, but
Yeah.
somebody saying, no, I'm in charge. You guys,
Well, I hope so. I hope more people step up. Again, there's many ways to serve, but I hope more people step up and decide to serve. We need a majority in Senate and Congress.
Yeah.
So I hope that we, focus on those races. I know the DNC, the National Party, is doing a tour of the country to speak in red districts. So I'm hoping people put their energy and focus into that so we can get back a majority.
what do you think the Democrats need to do to grasp hold of the House in 2 years?
I think we need to show up in communities that we haven't showed up in a while, show up in red districts, not be afraid to go on conservative media. Right now, the landscape, when we talk about YouTube and TikTok influencers, when we talk about local newspapers, right now, the right has a monopoly on that. They own most of that space when you think about influencers and local news and local newspapers. So I think we need to show up in that space.
Wow. Let's keep it right there. Tony Blackwell Jr., we appreciate you, man. You have a
Thank you.
website where people can go and check you out?
I'm on Instagram and Twitter at Troy Blackwell Jr., like JR at the end.
Communicator and government executive.
Yes, thank you.
Hope to see more of you.
Thank you.
All right.
Pleasure to meet you.
All right.